this point, I'm convinced that Red Tower Books just publishes on vibes alone.
This book is spicy. It is also a standalone. Thank God.
Hey, Red Tower, we need to talk because what is this?
I think that this is the worst book that I have ever finished without DNFing. I was promised a circus. It's right there on the cover.
I have been divorced, and this book is still the worst decision I've ever made in my entire life.
Sup nerds, welcome back to my channel. My name is Matt. If you're new here, I hope your day is going well. And today we're going to talk about Red Tower and Sanctuary of the Shadow, as you could probably tell from the intro clips. This book and Red Tower in general have been making waves. I've been meaning to make videos on Red Tower as a publishing company for a while. There are a bunch of great videos that are already made by amazing creators all about Red Tower and its fast-tracked publishing issues, and I will definitely recommend you check out these content creators right here to kind of find out what's going on specifically with that publishing house. But I did end up picking up Sanctuary of the Shadow, which is one of the newer releases from Red Tower, because apparently it's a shit show. It is absolutely terrible. And honestly, if anyone can get people who are fans of Red Tower content to go, no, this is bad, and give this book a 2.92 on Goodreads, I need to know what's going on for this, for science purposes. You know what I mean? So strap in, we got places to go. I just couldn't help myself when it came to the latest controversy of Red Tower and maybe seeing them fall from their absolute domination of the romantasy genre. Enter Sanctuary of Shadow by Aurora Asher. This book had sprayed edges and a dream, and that dream was to make money off of stupid people. This book, honest to God, it reads like most of it is written by AI. I don't know how to prove that, but there is absolutely no reason this should exist in the format that it's in. So the thing about romantasy as a genre is that it's solely vibes oriented, but the problem with Sanctuary is the vibes here are rancid. Like somebody left the milk out in 100-degree heat, decrepit, disgusting, gross. The writing style, as many have noted, is just bad, for lack of a better word, to be honest. There is an alarming lack of depth to all of the scenes except the sex scenes. Those seem to be what there was any care for at all in the entire novel, which isn't necessarily unknown for romantasy. Like, it is a genre that at this point should be deemed mostly erotica, which is not a problem, but it is, the goal of romantasy isn't necessarily to have world building that makes sense, you know? Like Fourth Wing doesn't make sense, but this book really managed to be abhorrent when it came to the differences between the writing style of the general plotline versus the extremely out of the blue sex scenes, which is weird because it's a romance. So like, I'm not sure how you can make the sex scenes random, but they are. The biggest problem with this book is that it was pitched as a circus fantasy, and the circus is not ever developed well at all. I think we see a singular scene of another character performing in the circus, and we follow a main character who is the fortune teller of the circus, and that really doesn't give you any identifiable information about said circus. I don't care about the circus, so I'm gonna stop talking about it now. That this follows Harrow, and I can't believe they're disrespecting my girl like this. But Harrow is a seer, and she is also, as I said, a fortune teller. She can't tell anybody she's a seer because that's some type of fae that apparently should have been like long dead or something. But she's been with this circus for a long time. She's like 60 years old, long time. She's been there since she was 10, but apparently hasn't aged, which would mean she looks like a child. More on that later. This book is like a bingo sheet of literally every unsufferable romantasy trope that you could possibly imagine. You got the one bed trope, woman of color coded best friend that has a monologue about how amazing the main character is. Ethnically ambiguous love interest who has carnal impulses that lead you to believe that he's more beast than man. Random other guy that happens to also like the main character because we have to have some kind of love triangle vibe. Insta love, and pregnancy after having sex like once. Additionally, this was also pitched as a standalone, but there's gonna be more books in this world, which means it's a series. So I don't know why you're pitching this as a standalone when it's in fact a fucking series. Red Tower just hates their consumers. I can only assume that's what they're doing. Or their authors. I think it might be the other way. Like, I think they pick up books and go, yeah, we're gonna smack some sprayed edges on this and there's nothing that could go wrong. And if it does, we're gonna blame the person that wrote it. Even though it wasn't their fault most likely, because they just wrote a book that was subpar and then we didn't edit it or try to at all market it in the correct direction that it probably should have been. We just went, circus book? Sure. Night Circus is nice, right? That's a great book. This is embarrassing. But back to the story. The love interest is the major pressure point that seems to have broken Red Tower's back when it comes to the negative response to this book. So in the beginning of the book, there is a chapter from an unnamed POV who doesn't know where he is and is being like captured by flesh traders, which is a fucking annoying word choice. And then those people are killed by this enigmatic circus owner named Salazar, who is also a person of color, from what I can tell in the book. This circus person starts torturing the unnamed character that is going to become our love interest, mostly because he knows that this character is a wraith, which in this world is an incorporeal being, and he is going to put this person that is unaware of what's happening to him and why it's happening to him into his circus show. Yes, it's the same circus that Hera works at. I'm starting to have issues with this word. There's a random character that ends up writing wraith on a sign next to our captured love interest, but he writes it without the W, which, okay, interesting, I guess. And so the captured, incarcerated individual who doesn't remember anything about himself decides, oh, well, someone wrote that on a sign next to me, so that must be my name. He then takes this sign that was given to him as a nomenclature. Like, that is what he calls himself, and that is his name for the rest of the book. A word that basically meant to be what he is. Like, he has no separation between the bestial thing that he has been called and the name that he chose for himself. It's a weird optically concept. And like, apparently in the acknowledgements, the author just drove past a town called Wraith without the W. And honestly, I feel like it would have been better if we had just ran with something like that instead. I don't know. It was bad. And honestly, I couldn't think of anything other than Wraith from Dead by Daylight, chicken legs and all. So I don't know about you guys, but this guy isn't hot to me. So that didn't help anything. Our lady love here, Harrow, interacts with the guy in the cage, and within like 5 minutes, she's let me in memeing to get this apparently very attractive humanoid looking person out of the cage, because bear in mind, he has wings. I think he can put them away. Kind of unclear on that, and he's also got like long fucking limbs. I was just thinking he looked like Slenderman, to be honest, the whole time. I was like, all right, okay. So despite the fact that she's known like the circus manager guy for the entirety of her life after she was 10 years old, she meets this dude for like 2 minutes and decides to go full prison break on that and to get both of them out of the circus in its entirety. Just like a bit quick, to be honest. Just, you're moving a little bit fast, ma'am. I did see a Goodreads review that was like, you know, if this book wasn't pitched as romantasy and was just a straight up erotica with a pseudo circus thing and a trope of love interest man has amnesia, it would be fine, and we could focus on the erotic scenes and have like 50% less plot, which, albeit despite the fact that the book has like other side quests happening for other characters, there is very little plot in this book. If you could just download this book for like 99 cents from Kindle or whatever, it probably wouldn't have been such a big deal if that the representation of like people of color and like specifically the Romani culture and the appropriation of tarot and like the fact that the author created an entirely new game based off of tarot for her fortune teller character to use. I can't necessarily speak to the exact ramifications of that, but it was just really bad, and I'm not sure why I would expect anything less from Red Tower and its publishing team. But it's pretty fucking disgusting, to be honest, especially with the way that they handled the warfare. But we are in the Sarah J. Massified romantasy era, and warfare is something that is treated not politely or respectfully, in my opinion. I don't have nice things to say about that, and I don't have appropriate things to say about it, so I'm gonna continue on with this fun video. So let's return to the best friend, shall we? First of all, her name is Malika, I think that's how you pronounce it. I kept saying it Malachi because that sounds funnier, and because that's an actual word. So Malachi, Mal is a hybrid cat human person, and she's also a trapeze artist. She is clearly coded to be some kind of person in minority in this book, because there is a scene where she's doing a trapeze show for the circus that she's in, and the circus manager calls her exotic, and we do not see the Mal's reaction to being microaggressioned, but we do see the white main character's reaction. She has a panic attack seeing her friend be microaggressioned, and it is very weird and kind of strange that we don't actually see like the best friend's reaction to that, because it was directed at her, and the next time we do meet up with the best friend, she's just like, yeah, I want to stay in the circus. I've never known anything and I don't want to leave because I love it here, even though they're awful to me and super racist. I don't like it. It is very clear that Mal is going to be the next main character in whatever book that we're going to do here. And I do think that they are building up a love triangle, with one part of that triangle being the circus manager who happens to be racist. Yay! Are we having fun yet? So Mr. Wraith running around in his chicken legs also happens to be the reason that all of Harrow's family is dead, because of some bullshit between two queens that wasn't important enough for me to understand. I've noticed a very strong pattern of books that are coming out that are, as I will now dub, Sarah J. Massified, where instead of creating an interesting historical narrative for the world where, you know, most people don't know what happened 1,000 years ago because people haven't lived that long, so there's a bunch of different stories about what happened. In Sarah J. Maas inspired books, you have a character who just tells you what happened 1,000 years ago verbatim, and they describe a bunch of characters that have nothing to do with the plotline because they've been dead for 1,000 years, and you're just supposed to run with it even though you have no attachment to those characters from 1,000 years ago. That's what happens in this book. It is also shady as fuck, and bear in mind the person telling the main character this, as if it's fact, has ulterior motives, and all of a sudden we're surprised by the fact that the person that told you a bunch of things about people you don't know wasn't telling the truth. But at the same time, when I'm getting this expositional breakdown of information, I'm not listening because it doesn't relate to the story in a way that feels natural. Back to the plot. So the plot is we break Wraith out of prison and then we go to an inn and we fuck for like 3 days. That's the plot line.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
There was this whole stuff that was happening at the circus where he was like, I gotta kill the circus manager, and Harrow was like, no, kiss me, and they kissed, and it was weird because bear in mind the biggest problem with this book is the fact that Wraith acts like a child and is very weird about things in general. There is even a point in time where the main character references that he's childlike, and the main character has to go, whoa! Like Harrow's like, oh, it's not like that. There's other points in this book where the author seems to utilize word choices that are very popular in like BDSM culture, where they are descriptive in a way in the sex scenes that it's clear that like the character is like being utilized very poorly, and they're using terms like play in a sexual way, but it comes off very creepy because the love interest is so childlike and almost feral. Like he feels more like a beast than a human being, and that's the like attraction the main character wants from him. and the weird control aspects of their sex scenes is just, it's not good. It's making me visibly uncomfortable right now. And I did just finish this book yesterday. And I'm trying to get this video out for you guys a little bit faster than usual because I don't want to percolate on this book at all. It's really uncomfortable and I don't like it. So now that I'm very icky and I want to take a shower, that's what is making Red Tower fans mad. They're like, I spent $30 on this book and it was creepy and I didn't like it. And I'm really hoping that maybe Red Tower fans will stop being Red Tower fans and stop buying books for $30 that you don't know are good or not. These weren't worth it. Please stop reading these. Just because it has pretty sprayed edges doesn't mean this is good. Wait for a review. Please wait for a review. I'm begging people now. Yeah, I can stay down, that's fine. All right, I've calmed down a little bit. I'm gonna go now, like, subscribe, all the good stuff, bye. I'm gonna go read something that's nice and fun and cool. I'm actually reading Jade City again. If you wanna read something that's not shit and has cool characters and sexy scenes, actually, you should read this book. I'm gonna go cry myself to sleep. Bye!